The NBA is caught up in a sports scandal, likes of which we have not seen since the White Sox era of baseball. Yet, folks, despite the fact that players, coaches, and even the mafia are involved and perhaps going to jail, the real tears might be coming from the House of Mouse, from Disney. Billions of dollars on the line, a stock that could crater, and it turns out that Bob Iger may have bet very badly. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is a joy as ever to have you joining us. We're going to Reddit today to start off, and Ashy Larry, thank you for having this one. It is something you must see. This is Disney's ESPN. It's a little blurry. It's a little fuzzy. That's okay. What you need to see. Folks, keep an eye on the ESPN bet that is at the bottom of the screen. Pay attention to that. We're going to play it. As we do, click the like button and drop a comment down below. I'm going to tell you today in this video why Disney is in a very bad situation, and the NBA may have put them there, but listen, this goes way beyond the NBA. Here's the video we'll start off with.
It was something that leagues stayed far away from. It was something that networks like ESPN would stay far away from. Those days are obviously long behind us. You hear a lot about legal sports gambling on this show. The Bussin' Boys, obviously sports gambling is a huge part of what you do, so we put those all out there as a preamble because it might be in the back of people's minds, and we acknowledge that this is a different time and place. However, there is a...
Did you see it, ladies and gentlemen? Did you see what happened? Let me play it again. Live on ESPN as they were talking about the scandal, suddenly Disney's ESPN doesn't want their ESPN bet telling you how much you can bet, how much you can get. Suddenly it disappears as this scandal breaks out.
What you do, so we put those all out there as a preamble because it might be in the back of people's minds, and we acknowledge that this is a different time and place. However, there is a...
All right. We got to listen. This is a big topic. They're not doing that for frivolity. They're doing it because there are a lot of legalities here. Take a look at this out of the New York Post by David Spector. NBA is risking billions of dollars in legal expenses, brand damage over betting scandal. Experts say everybody is concerned. They're concerned because this might grow rapidly, far larger, and metastasize into the other leagues. And this should be no surprise to anybody that sports gambling is just absolutely rife with corruption. But guess what? Disney is stuck with this, and we'll explain why. Gamblers are right over the NBA betting scandal could have a slam dunk lawsuit that could cost the league billions of dollars in litigation and reputational damage, gaming law experts contend. The risk to the league to defend this and all of the dominoes off of it, including the overall integrity of the brand, is definitely 9 figures and could be 10 figures. International Masters of Gaming Law President Mark Dunbar told the Post, "I wouldn't be surprised if a lawsuit is dropped by or before this coming Friday." There's Chauncey Billups. He used to play for the Detroit Pistons, and now he's the Portland coach. He's been arrested, and there's a lot of people may be arrested. More people may be arrested. I also want to say, listen, I tuned in to hear what Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal had to say, and I greatly respect those guys. I mean, really and truly, I'm not being facetious. I respect Shaquille O'Neal a ton, and Charles Barkley too. And Charles Barkley was making the point that you can't fix NBA games. I'm here to tell you, that's not all that this was about. You know, can you fix an NBA game? Well, there were some issues with the referee about a decade and a half ago, if you recall. But the idea that that people are betting on how many points a player is going to score, and the player could voluntarily take himself out of the game with a fake injury, allegedly, and thus tip the scales, and the bettors know, an inside track knows about that. That's what we're talking about here. And we're talking about huge amounts of money. Disney was going to inject this directly into their ESPN app and perhaps into Disney Plus. And that's why you must watch all this video, because you need to understand Disney bet on betting, and they bet on it big time. They bet on it to the point that shareholders may have been hanging on to Disney stock just for the idea that kids were going to go from Mickey Mouse diapers to betting on Disney Plus. And that is what all the fuss was about. That's why Disney had to have the NFL. Remember that Disney spent all of this money, and it's a 2-year process, and it's not done yet to try to get the NFL. Why? Why did they need the NFL to be an official part of ESPN? And why were they willing to sell 10% of ESPN to the NFL to make that happen? because they wanted fantasy football and betting directly in, and the official NFL associated with it in the ESPN and Disney Plus apps? Probably. Says from Ernest Matthews, a gaming attorney, I can guarantee you that there will be some resulting class actions coming out of all of this. It keeps getting uglier, and it should. Disney absolutely should, they should have a problem, because this is a problem. Right now, we're in the NBA stuff. Remember how much that Disney pays the NBA? Remember? Oh, they're so virtuous, the NBA. But I'll get to the Disney side in just a second, I promise. First, I need you to understand just how bad this is. Connor Green, and it's going to get worse, with Time.com, New York City's notorious mafia families are alive and caught up in the NBA gambling scandal. Here's what to know. It says some of the worst out there are still kicking, and it may be more powerful than experts believed. Maybe not the Cash Patel FBI. Maybe they had some idea of that. Several members of some of those prominent crime families were among the dozens of people arrested on Thursday in connection with rigged games that federal officials say involve tens of millions of dollars and high-profile NBA figures. In other words, this is I'm telling you, this is going to metastasize. I'm telling you, it's going to metastasize into all kinds of stuff. Is the NHL going to get involved? I don't know. The MLB? I don't know. The NFL? I don't know. But I can tell you that the NBA right now is the start of a very large investigation. Finally, the Disney stuff from Alex Sherman. Posted on Thursday as this was just getting going. Oh, what timing. Disney, NBC look to sports betting technology as need for new sports revenue surges. Now, this is an article, and I'll read you the key points. This is an article you should go read because it came out just as this was breaking. And it's so fascinating to see how all this was being evaluated by Disney. So the key points, and I'll tell you what this is about. NBA is back with two new media partners, NBC returning after 23 years and Amazon Prime Video. But Disney is their primary media partner. The economics are pretty staggering and are raising questions about NBC Universal's ability to recoup its investment. Traditional media hasn't yet been able to develop a new significant revenue stream off live sports rights, but it could help offset the cost. Now, this article, and again, I'm going to tell you, go read the article. I'm going to show you just a little bit of it. I'm not going to read it. You go read it, I promise. It's so fascinating. But this article, what it's talking about is that they're paying so much, Disney and NBC and all these companies, they're paying these sports leagues so much, they basically can't recoup the costs off of advertising alone. That is the commercials. There has to be another revenue stream to support this. So how do you support this so that these 22-year-olds can have their millions and millions of dollars? Can you support this? Through gambling, through betting, and through fantasy sports, and through combining those two things together. You combine those things together, and then you deliver it into a singular package, and then you can afford all this. And if you don't have that, then it's not affordable. You can't afford to pay the amounts of money that are being paid to these leagues. Now, that's what's happening. That's and literally as this article goes out, the FBI starts making the arrests. And this is getting big. This is getting bad. I'm telling you right now, don't sleep on this story. We're not going to. I don't have any idea how this video is going to do because this is so far outside of the normal game that we cover. It's outside of the lane we're typically driving in. But we cover Disney, and this will impact Disney to a huge extent, and it's time to explain that. Folks, thank you for sticking around in this video until I could get to this. I need you to understand. Players, coaches, really bad people are getting arrested, and this is the beginning. It's going to grow and grow and grow, I believe. I don't know that, but I think it might. Ryan O'Rourke has this out of Collider. This was published on July 11th. We need to go back in time because I need you to understand why Disney is now across that line and should be deeply worried. This article out of Collider says Disney is officially getting into the sports betting game. Now, we covered this on the Valiant Renegade channel. We covered it live as it was announced. We covered it. I denounced it because I said this is a bad idea. Putting this in the app it creates this world where you start on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and soon you're addicted to, making a decision on games and players and points and all that kind of stuff. As soon as you hit 18, I don't like this idea at all. I think it's antithetical to what Walt would have wanted. I don't think it's in line with the brand of Disney. But Bob Iger and his bunch, his merry bunch of bandits, they wanted to do this because they want to get those margins up. And so who cares if it's, if it's ethical or good, or if it does damage to the reputation of the company? Who cares? Get the margins up, right? Can't hardly serve enough alcohol over at Disney World. We got to get back. We got to get in gambling next. Who knows? Maybe they'll have the slots over there on the Disney Cruise Line soon. I don't know. I can't. It says Disney is preparing its next big step in the sports streaming wars. During an earnings call back in February, CEO Bob Iger emphasized that the House of Mouse had plans to expand the availability of its sports network, ESPN, through linear channels, streaming bundles, and most importantly, a standalone app coming this fall, which has arrived, and it did not do well. And that's a problem for Disney, and it's a problem for Bob. The goal is to get the platform in front of as many eyes as possible, especially by utilizing recently debuted packages like those from DirecTV and Comcast that are built for sports fans, aka free ESPN bundles and Disney Plus bundles if you're already a DirecTV or Comcast subscriber. Since then, we've learned much more about the flagship app, including what it offers, how it integrates into the Disney bundle, and what it brings to the company in the long term. The new standalone service is billed as a one-stop shop for all things ESPN for cord cutters. Pause. Because at the time this article's writing, what we didn't know is that Disney was trying to cut a deal with the NFL to have the NFL be almost one and the same with the ESPN app and fully integrated so that Disney would have the NFL fantasy leagues and NFL gambling straight into the app of ESPN. We didn't know that Disney had this multi-billion-dollar deal with the NFL. Oh, but by the way, dear shareholders, before you go away jumping up and down, either angry or happy, it's not approved yet. It has to be approved next year by the regulators inside the government. Hang on to that thought for a minute. Hang on for that thought. Iger teased that it would lean more into the fast-growing sports betting industry, promising some form of betting and fantasy and a high degree of customization and personalization. ESPN had already begun pushing its chips in on gambling with the ESPN Bet sportsbook and plenty of ads promoting it, featuring the network's biggest talents, but this is a more direct and convenient tie-in to steer viewers towards their in-house options over the likes of DraftKings or FanDuel. In other words, this was better than FanDuel or DraftKings because you could literally be watching the game on ESPN and betting on it at the same time, potentially. All right, let's go back to that deal now. So Disney cuts a deal with the NFL. Now remember, Disney and these other companies are trying to find a way to make enough money back to justify the crazy cost that they've paid for the NBA, the WNBA, the NFL, the NHL, MLB, etc. Because they overpaid, like dramatically overpaid. And we covered that as well. They dramatically overpaid. So they got to find a way to get their costs back. The way they were going to do that was through this gambling stuff, officially integrating it in. But to do that with the NFL, Disney has to get regulatory approval from the federal government. Now, question, folks. If the federal government is currently arresting a vast potential alleged conspiracy of manipulating games, maybe across leagues. We're not quite there yet. We don't know. Will that page drop? Don't know yet. But if there's a vast conspiracy maybe that involves players and coaches and bad, people with legacies of bad behavior, kind of a little scary for Pro to even talk about this stuff, isn't it? It'll be okay. But we're going to talk about it because Pandora's box has been opened. What all does the FBI know? And if Disney is betting on betting for them surviving and for the shareholders loving what they've got, if this is an integral part of the plan for Disney, right? Remember, they made ESPN be 1/3 of their company. That was a decision they made. They made it on the idea that they were going to make it on gambling. What are the chances now that the feds are going to say to Disney, yeah, we love this idea. We're going to approve this semi-quasi merger of ESPN and NFL in some ways. We're going to prove that. And you guys, you integrate that straight into watching live sports and doing this. Do you think the odds went up or down? based on what's going on right now. How much do you think the NFL's worried about this? The NBA? Because let me tell you something. Yes, these people tend to be above and beyond what happens to normal people until now. And until the police start showing up, and worse, the agents start showing up. And then everybody knows what's up. Everybody knows this is real. Now, I'm going to present you with an idea, okay? I'm going to present you with an idea that might explain why that ticker went away. We'll play it again. Let me present you with an idea here, folks. We'll back it up so you can see that ticker literally go away. Disney's big ESPN bet. The FBI and the police often do not begin with the big kahunas. They often start with the little fish and they work their way up because they can get them to talk. They can get them to tell what's really going on. If they're already starting with NBA coaches, I don't know if this goes higher. I don't know if they are going to put pressure, if they're going to do the squeeze. I don't know. But look out if you're Disney. Look out if your big plan was to make your stand on betting and gambling and all this kind of stuff. Look out. Now, I'm not here to tell you morally whether you should participate in this and what the right amount is or any of that. That's not my deal here. My deal is to tell you to break down what's going down with Disney and the market. And this, mark it down, folks, this is what is weighing on the minds of the executives in the C-suite of Disney right now. It's not even close. There's nothing else that comes closer than this. This is a big deal. We're going to cover it. We are going to cover it. When you watch Tron flop at the box office, that's got nothing on this sort of thing. Because then the question becomes, is it inside our company? I'm not making that allegation. But that's what some of these people start wondering. Uh-oh. Is it here? What do we know? Quick, check the emails. Find out, is this in our company at all? And every company's going to wonder that right now, not just Disney. Every company's got to start looking for that and rooting this out fast. Because law enforcement might be working even faster. Folks, that's the video for this Saturday afternoon. We don't typically do brand new videos on Saturdays, you know. Usually on Saturday, I'm not trying to give this away, but usually on a Saturday, we're running, highlights and clips and things that we prepared. I'll work on a Friday to get the Saturdays ready to go. Came into the studio on a Saturday afternoon because this is such a big deal. We had to be here to cover this ASAP, and we're glad we have. Folks, click the like button, share, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Keep it safe, though, folks. Keep it safe. And until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having legal fun.
I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
You know what would be a real treat this Halloween? Checking out WDW Pro.
His daily videos are a real treat.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars. Get it?
You know, we should go and make sure we're subscribed.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
And while we're at it, we'll ring that bell to make sure we're notified.
Great, let's go. Because, we actually care about that. Let's go.
Fact. Star Wars is not dead. It's haunting the staffs of Disney Plus.